Hey, Greek students, Dr. Hill here, and I want to say something about feminine nouns. First declension, feminine nouns. So let's talk a little bit about feminine nouns. And so we're on 7.11, and this is in chapter 7, and I just want to focus on these feminine nouns. And we talked about, thus far, we've talked about this idea that the first declension is primarily feminine. So we're talking about first declension nouns, okay? And first declension are nouns with stems that end in either alpha or eta. So our paradigmatic nouns, words here, hora, say hora. Hora is hour, the hour of the day. It is the hour. My hour has not yet come, that hour. And graphe, say graphe. Graphe. Okay, graphe means scripture or writing. And graphe ends in an eta, hora ends in an alpha. So we've already noted that the endings of graphe, even though it has an eta as an ending, when it goes down to the plural, it will switch over to an alpha in the ending. Okay? And that is very helpful when you are trying to determine the difference between the genitive singular and the accusative plural, which both have an ending, the case ending of a sigma. See there? You got eta sigma and alpha sigma. So you know graphos is always accusative plural and graphes is always genitive singular. But look over at horos. Horos is really interesting because you have an alpha sigma here as a genitive singular. And then because it would also keep the alpha iota, so it would be horai, horon, horais, horos. And down here, the alpha sigma ending in the accusative plural is the same as the genitive singular. And so there can be a little ambiguity to the ending. The endings are essentially identical for these alpha stemmed nouns. The difference is, so this is where the article comes in handy. The article comes in handy because if you have tes, you know that it's genitive singular because the accusative plural article is tos. So it would be tes horos, that's genitive singular. And tos horos would be accusative plural. Okay, so that's one thing to note, that you could have some ambiguity between the genitive singular and the accusative plural in alpha stemmed feminine nouns. All right. Now, go further along in chapter 7, 7.11, and let's move to the very end of the chapter, 7.14, where Mounts gives us alternate first declension patterns. So we're talking about first declension patterns. And basically what he says is there are 36 words in the Greek New Testament that will do an earlier shift of alpha. These are all alpha stemmed words, okay? So like hora is an alpha stem, but in this case we have the word is doxa. Say doxa. Doxa. Doxa means glory, okay? Now what's interesting here is look at what doxa does. Even though it's an alpha stem, okay, look at the alpha stem here in the nominative singular. In the genitive singular and the dative singular, it shifts from alpha to eta in the genitive and dative. So essentially doing what an eta stem would do in the genitive singular and the dative singular, and not what an alpha stem would do. So it's not like hora. Hora doesn't make this shift. It just is alpha, 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 alpha. But doxa is alpha in the nominative, and then it shifts to eta, eta, and then alpha. And the rule is, if you want the rule, okay, and again, if this is like going to put you over the edge and you're like, my brain's going to explode, just hit pause, put this on the back burner. We'll get to it eventually, okay? Don't worry. But here's the rule. So if a first declension word has an alpha stem ending, so any word that you're memorizing that ends in an alpha, like hamartia, hora, doxa, so that where you have an alpha ending, the rule is if the preceding letter is an epsilon, iota, or rho, then it will not make this shift. So think about this. Hora. This is our example of hora. It has a row. The second to last letter is a row. And if we go back up to our what we saw there, look at hora. Hora does not make that alpha to eta shift because the row is there. Think also of the word hamartia. Hamartia, I'm going to go back down here to doxa. If you think about hamartia, the second to the last letter is an iota. And hamartia will not make the shift from alpha to eta. But doxa is one that does not have an epsilon iota or rho, and it will make a shift from alpha to eta in the genitive singular and the dative singular. You have the alphas all the way through here, except for the doxon. But all this to say, there are 36 words like this. We will memorize a number of them. But he says only 4 of these words occur with any frequency. But sometimes it can be a little bit confusing if you're like, why does this say doxase if it's doxa? And maybe you're like doxos. Is that a genitive? Is there ambiguity? Is that a genitive singular or an accusative plural? And you're like, well, it can't be because this makes the alpha to eta shift in the genitive singular. So the genitive singular form is unique to, and accusative plural is unique. It doesn't have that overlap. So anyway, again, if this just puts you over the edge, put it on the back burner and don't worry about it. Okay. But if you are tracking and you just want to kind of get this down and just understand some of these feminine nouns that we're looking at, first declension nouns, will make this alpha to eta shift right here. Other ones will not. Okay? All right. That is all. I'll see you in the next time.